Welcome to Unfiltered, real conversations with creators, tastemakers, movers, and shakers. I'm Kristen Hess of the Artful Gourmet podcast, and this is where we pull back the curtain on creativity, business, and the stories behind the people shaping culture today. So grab a coffee or pour a glass of wine, and let's sit down and talk. This is Unfiltered. This is my new interview series called Unfiltered. And my very first episode, I have a dear friend that I've known forever and ever, Claudette Scirri.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking all kinds of fun stuff today. We've known each other a really long time, which we can get into later, but we met in college and we were roommates and we had so much fun in Buffalo, New York. Today, I just wanted to have Claudette on because she's not only an awesome friend, but she's an amazing businesswoman, a creative. She's a singer. She's got her own business, actually several. And I just thought she would be a really inspiring person to talk to today. So welcome, Claudette. How are you
Hello.
today?
I'm well. How are you
Good?
doing, Kristen? How are
I'm
you doing?
doing
Hi,
great.
everybody.
Doing great.
Yeah, it's a good day.
So it seems like you were in Florida recently with your husband, Robert. Tell me about Florida. What were you guys doing
Yeah.
down there?
Gosh, what's funny is we're still here, for God's sake. I feel like I've been here for like 10 years. We've about the last 4 years have been snowbirding, and he gets, some work out here. So we kind of parlay his work with kind of traveling around the state. We're currently in Sarasota. Love it here.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I know you were in Florida for a bit, but oh my gosh, it is just outstanding. In fact, we were in St. Pete not long ago, up in your neck of the woods there at a time, and
Yeah.
just amazingly, incredibly beautiful there. We started out kind of in St. Pete, or excuse me, not St. Pete, West Palm Beach. For God's sake, we've been so many places, I can't even remember where we started. But West Palm Beach, St. Pete's, Deerfield Beach, Boca, Sarasota, up Orlando. We've been to Orlando twice during this trip, and this is our second time back to Sarasota. And then actually, we're going to Mississippi on Sunday. So if you can imagine that. And then we'll be heading back home probably end of March, somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're really enjoying it. Maybe there's a move in our future. Who knows?
Why
We'll
not,
see.
right? Be a
Yeah.
snowbird. Don't we all live the
Yeah.
dream, right? Live in New York
Right.
part of the year and
Yeah.
Florida the rest of the year. Yeah, I mean, that's actually my favorite part of Florida. I've been to Fort
Amazing.
Lauderdale and Miami and Boynton Beach, all that side. But what I love
Boynton's
about
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, Boynton's really fun. I used to date someone there and he lived
Yeah.
near Delray. So we'd go right out like Delray Beach and that whole strip
So
on
pretty.
Atlantic. Super
Yeah. There's
fun.
not.
But there's something about the West Coast that's just magical, right? Like the
Yeah. Yeah.
sunsets and the sand. And
I agree. Have you been to Destin?
I have
Like
been to
Destin,
Destin.
oh Lord, that place is
Yeah.
another, gem, I think.
Yeah.
The only issue there, of course, you got hurricanes, but where we're out here now, it's not a flood zone. So we've
Yeah.
kind of been sticking around those areas. Not that it's a hurricane season right now, but just saying for the future, it would be a non-flood zone for us, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I mean, I know St. Pete got hit a couple of years ago, which was pretty
Yeah.
bad. And thank God when I lived there, I never experienced a hurricane, but I
Yeah.
have friends
Yep.
that live there that did.
Yeah. You got to
So,
kind of weigh the good and the bad there. And I think Florida has a lot more good than bad. So
yeah.
who knows what the future holds there?
Yeah, but I mean, it's cool that you guys can live down there and still do some work remotely
Yeah.
and travel around and all
Yeah.
that kind of
Everything I
stuff
do is
too.
remote. Robert's an entertainer, as you know, so he's all over the place, and it kind of allows us that opportunity, which I'm grateful for. It works.
Yeah.
Just ends up
Yeah,
working out.
absolutely. Living the remote dream. I'm with you,
Yeah.
sister.
The big
Someday
RD.
I thought about like getting a place on Anna Maria Island. You know where that is,
Yes, we're
right?
going
Like
there
South.
Saturday.
My God, it's my favorite beach ever. It's
Come on
amazing.
down.
Like get a little hut and just live there and write and blog and do my YouTube
Little
show in my
cocktail
little
with an
hut.
umbrella and somebody.
Absolutely.
Claudette,
Yeah.
would you like another towel or do you need something? I would love that. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So anyway, let me just intercept here then. So okay, Claudette and we went to Buffalo State and it was crazy because I mean this is like a really long time ago. I'm not going to say how old we are, but we were super young, right out of high school, and I had gone to Buffalo State, living in Perry Hall, and in the beginning they give you a couple of weeks to decide, right? Like if
hmm
you're gonna stay with your roommate or change. And, I
Yep.
don't know what happened, but I did not like my first roommate at all.
Yeah,
But
me neither.
that's another story, and I don't know
I
what happened. I
tried.
ended up going home. Yeah, I tried too. I usually get along with everyone, but
Yeah,
this one
right?
wasn't really working. And yeah, I think I went home and I didn't tell her that I didn't want to live with her anymore. But when I came back, she had already put in a notice that she didn't want to live with me either. So that kind of worked
Goodness.
out. And for the first few months, I had my own room, which was really weird because I was a freshman. I had never
Right,
been to
right.
college before, and I had this whole double room to myself.
That's so great. That happened to me in New
Yeah,
Mexico at NMSU,
yeah.
and then they gave me a roommate, but that turned out perfect.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it was so, I had met these girls down the hall, like all of our friends, Sabrina and Nancy and
Yep.
Charlie and
God,
everybody.
yep.
And then I don't know, you came in a few months later, I guess through somebody. Was it Charlie that you had met?
And, I had a friend in Buffalo that was a Sig Tau brother who lived down the street from my cousin. And
Okay.
do you remember Sal?
I think so. I
Yeah,
mean, there were
Sal and
so many
Delina.
guys in Buffalo. Yeah.
Yeah, so he and I've known him since I was like, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. He'd come over and he's like, "Oh, you're in a buff state." Donna tells me, when you get there, you should become like a SIGTEL little sister. And I'm like, I, yeah, sounds great. What's that all about? And so when I got there, I went to a party. I thought is what happened, and then might have met Charlie there, but somebody told me that there was an opening in Perry, and then I, you know, met you, and we got introduced, and then I remember walking in when because we had to meet, and it's interesting, we'll talk
Yeah.
about beauty stuff later, but I
Yeah.
remember walking into the room because we met, and I was like, oh my god, everything's normal and girly and peach, and there's Clinique, and there's Aussie, and there's perfume, and I'm like, I'm in. This is the place I needed to be. And
Yeah.
so then I was like, what, pledge class president, right? And then I kind of knocked on everybody's door, like Nancy, everybody, that Jen that lived kind of down the way, Sabrina, and I asked if they wanted to go to the next party because they were trying to get, like little rush parties or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then we just all kind of fell in that way. There's so many. I just, how you just like flash back to all the things and they just all
Yeah.
like just kind of melt together.
Yeah.
But I
Especially since they were so long ago. I
My
think my whole
God.
freshman year was quite a
Yeah.
blur,
You
but
know what's crazy though? Like, I think that I believe everything happens for a reason, as cliche as that sounds. And here we are in 2020 on your podcast talking about these things that we probably never thought we were going to be doing, back then when we were like 18, 19 years old.
exactly.
Everything for a reason. I mean, what if everything worked
Yeah.
out in that situation? What if we never met? What if I always think that people who
Yeah.
need to meet will meet. I believe that. I
I
believe there's nothing you
agree.
can do about that. You know,
I
people can,
totally agree.
yep, they
And
can
some
fall
people,
together, fall
they'll
apart.
come in your life for a season
Yep,
and
season or a reason.
and then leave, right?
Yep,
And then sometimes they'll
100%.
come back, and
Yep,
some friends you just never
yeah,
lose touch with. And even if
yeah,
you haven't, like, we hadn't seen each other in a really long
right.
time
Really
because,
long time. I was in New
like,
Mexico for 22
you
years.
went to New Mexico. That's right. Tell us about that. When did you
I
go to
went
do that?
I got a letter, surprisingly, in the dorm I was in before we met that said, "Hey, you've been selected for this national student exchange and blah, blah, blah." I'm going,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. So I went down and talked to Wendell Wickland. If you remember that guy? And he
Yes,
was
I
like,
do.
he was in charge of that program. He kind of explained the program to me, and you had to choose. I think it was like you had to put like your first three choices of schools you would want to go to that they would
Right.
host you. And I mean, New Mexico wasn't even on my list. It wasn't even on my short list. It was Florida State, not surprising, and then Rutgers, only because at that time my major was criminal justice, and they had a really great
Right.
program there for that. And
Yep.
then the other one was, I think, like Chico in California, because it was a
Okay.
small school and I had heard some things where. So he says, he just looks at me and I'll never forget it. He leaned back in his chair just like this, Kristen, and he goes, "What about New Mexico?" I'm all, "What about it?" Right? He goes, "Listen, there's a girl on exchange here from there. Here's her number to her dorm. I want you to meet her. And I just have this feeling. I don't know why," he said, "but you would love it there. I can just tell you're gonna love it." Goes, I do this
Yeah.
for a living. Okay. So trusted his judgment, went up, talked to her. She showed me pictures of the Oregon mountains there in Las Cruces. And I was like, sold. I go, oh my God, he was right. Like all I had to do was see a picture. And I'm like, oh man, that looks outstanding.
Right.
4 weeks later, I think I was on a plane there.
Yeah.
So that was that was pretty great. And I ended up living there for 22 years. I went back to Buffalo twice. That was like after I came back to Buff State to graduate, because you graduate from
Right.
your
Yep.
home schools. And so after that, I moved back there in like 92. We graduated 91. I moved back, came back in 97, and then went back a year later. Just had to get some things together, whatever, and then went back to Albuquerque and didn't look back. I stayed there from 1998, October of 98, I think, until um, I did some other stuff that we can talk about in between in LA and in Vegas. But
Right.
I sold my house in October of 2016. So that ended up going almost like that whole time, October to an October, which
Yeah.
October
So
ended
you're
up
there a
being an
long time.
interesting month. Yeah, 22 years. And then, darted off to LA for that other situation that I was involved in. Did a lot of recording, a lot of music stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into there. And then roundabout way, went to Vegas for work, met Robert, who I'm now married to, and we've been
Yep.
together 13, going on 14 years now.
Which
So
is
that's the long
awesome.
and
And
the
now you
short of it.
guys are back in Buffalo where you're both
Yeah.
from there, or is he not
No,
from there?
he was actually born in Alaska.
Okay.
He lived in Vegas over 40 years. And
Okay.
then had family in California. We kind of led parallel lives almost in the directions we were going. He went to LA when he was 18, wanted to become an actor, did all these things. I end up in the bands. I'm like doing music. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And we both ended up in California, both ended up in Vegas. He visited New Mexico. We went back and forth to take care of my home, in between those
Yeah.
little bouts around. And so it just kind of ended up that we crossed paths. We had mutual friends, and here we are. So
Yeah.
it's definitely been interesting to say the least. There's so many stories I could tell. Like it's
Yeah.
it's endless. I'm always fusing, it seems, the things that I enjoy together. They always end up crossing paths.
Yeah. Well, let's
So I'm
let's
thankful
talk
for
a
that.
little bit about your career path,
Yeah.
because I know you're
Aye,
like
aye.
me. You've probably done at least 5 to 10 different
Yeah.
careers in your lifetime
God.
and
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
and they've morphed into each other, but
Yeah.
they've built upon each
Absolutely.
other. So when
Absolutely.
you first, graduated, you
Mhm.
were doing like criminal justice type
Yeah.
stuff,
I was a
right?
counselor in a place in Hamburg, which is interesting because we just moved there.
Okay.
Or got a
Yeah, you
different
told me
apartment.
that.
Like I say, everything comes full circle. I believe that 100%. So after I graduated, I got a job doing like counseling work. I worked at an all girls a school for emotionally disturbed gang girls. I learned an awful lot there. It humbled me quite a bit. And then I enjoyed the job, but then I moved on. I ended up working at an intermediate care facility, ICFMR, and it was basically, nursing home that served challenged individuals, but lovely individuals. And then after that, I believe I was at like Bry Lynn Hospital there in Buffalo for a bit. And
Hmm.
then in New Mexico, when I got there, I was a manager for a company that they were basically like a community company and a residence that served the MR population in New Mexico.
Yes.
And I think after that, one of the case managers that was the case manager to one of my clients said, "Hey, have you given any thought to being a case manager?" And I was like, "No," but she goes, "Well, you should, because you're like, I'm hyper organized, you know what I mean?" So I had
Hmm.
folders for everybody at the meeting, and she's like, you got to do this. Like, you'd be perfect for the case management job, which is sort of how my remote career sort of started. So long story short, she interviewed me a week later. I worked for her for 10 years doing case management. I had a caseload where you sort of drove to see, your clients. You kind of assisted them with their treatment team. So basically I ran the treatment team and their budget. So I did that for forever. I was glad that I got to work in my field. I do remote work now. I ended up falling into utilization review and when I was in California and in Vegas, and I've been remote doing work ever since. So
Mhm.
it's been about with that career since 2009. That when I left that. So you figure 1999 to 2009 was 10 years. So from like
Yeah.
1999 forward is really kind of how the remote situation started. I actually
Yeah.
retired when I was 50 and then got sucked back in by another company. So I do that, but listen, I'm thankful for it that I said yes because it allows us to travel more. It allows us to do more things
Yeah.
and why not? Because now I'm
Yeah.
focusing on the singing and my Reiki. So that allows me the time to do that. So that's
So,
the long short
yeah,
of it.
so it's like a part-time type thing you're doing right now to
It's
allow you to do.
it's still considered full time,
Okay.
because I'm a director, but I'm the only one in my department now, so it's full time, but my hours are 7 to 3. So I do that, and that allows me a lot of time to do
Yeah.
things, kind of built around that. And if we come here, like to Florida, I can work, so
Yeah.
and it allows me to coordinate the band, do a lot of music, been doing a lot of writing. The Reiki business took off. So it afforded me that opportunity here that I may not have otherwise had.
You probably started your band thing first, right? When you were
Yeah,
out in
yeah,
Vegas and LA. Let's talk about that and then we can get
yeah,
into your other businesses
yeah.
that you're doing now
Sure,
that were later on.
sure. I've been singing since, I think I came out of the womb. But I had a band when I was in high school. I've pretty much been involved in music and in a band at least pretty consistently since then. There were breaks in between, but I was always involved in something musical, whatever it
Yeah.
could be. Jumping up with a friend's band or doing XYZ. This band that I'm in now, Gypsy Souls, I started that in New Mexico, took it to Vegas. I've had other
Okay.
bands, you know what I mean? But always was the singer, always fronting and did a lot of recording when I was in California. I did a lot of lending my vocals to other people's songs so they could shop them. I did a lot of those things. But with Gypsy Souls, I started that band in New Mexico in
Okay.
God, 2008. So
Okay.
it has been Gypsy Soul since then. We've had other members, obviously, because I was in another state. In
Right.
Vegas, I had Gypsy Souls and we played out all the time. I had incredible opportunities in California and Vegas to play with some pretty heavy hitters that if you would have told me at 16, 17 I'd be singing or sharing a stage with, I never would have believed it.
That's
At
awesome.
all. At all. But music's always been a part of my life. It will never not be a part of my life. So it's just now recently, this job has afforded me an opportunity to be able to spend more time doing it.
Yeah.
So that's the band thing. And we had just recently opened for Commodores at Batavia Downs up by sort of your neck of the woods where you're from. And
Yeah. Cool.
that was awesome. What an incredible opportunity that was.
Yeah.
Can't say enough about that. And then we have another, this is so great. I'm not going to announce too much about it, but I have another project starting very soon that one of my guitar players from New Mexico is going to be involved in, and a great friend of mine from New Jersey who was in a Bon Jovi tribute band and some other
Mhm.
bands. And then also a friend of mine from Nashville. And we are creating the coolest tribute band concept ever. I'm sure you've heard of the Grapes of Wrath, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a spin-off tribute to that name, and that's all I'm going to say about that. We have agent, we have lots of great things coming up that I've been dying to post about and can't yet.
Yeah, I know.
That's
I'm the same
happening.
way. I have all these ideas, but you can't post it too soon until it's ready,
Yeah,
right?
it's happening. Yeah, so it's definitely
Good,
happening,
good.
and we're going to all get together in Nashville here coming up probably Mayish, um, so we can run everything. So I'm looking forward to that. That's been kind of on the music front, doing a lot of writing, a lot of recording. That will never stop. I just don't know when that's ever going to stop. It will never stop.
I know you do cover
Yeah.
music.
Yep.
Do you have your own original songs as well that you guys write and
Yeah.
play?
I think the cardinal rule, and if you've ever spoken to anybody that in a band, which I'm sure you have, that does
Yeah.
covers, covers are what the people want to hear.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear originals. Do I have them? I have a book of them. In
Yeah.
fact, I don't know if you remember that freshman year, I had written a song that was produced and actually played on the radio there in Buffalo called Tell Me back then. So it started for me with that song. And I've
Yeah.
got, I mean, stacks of songs. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I've done originals in other bands, mine and theirs.
Hmm.
Vegas allowed a little more flexibility for that, as did California, because they expect that sort of thing.
Right.
Nashville does as well. When I was playing around New Mexico and other places, covers are what the people want to hear. And
Yeah.
so we gave them what
Absolutely.
they wanted to hear. We covered everything from Bon Jovi to the Beatles. So
Cool. So what is your main genre then? Is it
70s and
mix?
80s. Yeah, mix of 70s and
Okay.
80s. We do
Okay.
Um, some of a couple of current things, we like to kind of leave that be and stick to, the things that kind of represent us.
Right.
We can play virtually anything. We've done a few country songs that, we kind of mixed in there, but pretty much classic 70s rock, and just about anything 80s that you know.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Very
Some
cool.
people keeps people
So,
dancing and,
well, I mean, it's kind of
hey,
like when you go to see a headliner, right? Like whatever big band or singer, like Stevie Nicks, everyone wants to hear Dreams and Landslide, I mean, and she'll throw in a song or two here and there, whoever it is. But
yeah.
you're right. People want to listen to what the hits were and what they know and what they love. That's what they're
Yeah.
paying to see. You know what
And
I mean?
tribute
So,
bands are huge now,
yeah.
like cover bands, tribute bands. They're just making a massive comeback. Excuse me. And some of the artists that you and I, grew up listening to, are touring, that you would never think
Yeah.
would go back on tour. And so
Yeah.
it's a really great time to be in a tribute band, is my
Yeah.
my opinion.
Absolutely. And who doesn't love that's why I started my Groovy Eats show, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
food and music. It's all about the 70s, 80s, and 90s because those are the periods that I grew
yeah,
up in. And that's what I
absolutely.
love. And that's
Yep.
the kind of stuff that food
Hmm.
and music bring memory. Enough
Yeah,
about me, but
it's a
no,
comfort.
you're right. 70s and 80s is like the best music
It's
ever,
the greatest
especially
feeling.
classic rock.
There will
It
never be
really is.
another decade in music like the 80s, my opinion. 60s, 70s, I love, I even love some
Yeah.
40s music, but 80s
Yeah.
has its stamp that no one could ever take away and no one's going to
Right.
ever be able to duplicate, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I agree. So tell me about like when you start writing songs, like how do you approach songwriting? Like, do you
Yeah,
start
gosh.
with an idea? Do you start with the lyrics? Do you start with a melody? Do you work with
Start with a
someone? Like,
dream. I
okay,
s-
no, I'd like to
literally
hear it.
start with a dream. I literally dreaming in the bed. Like go to bed, go to sleep. I used to and still do from time to time, but used to consistently sleep with a little mini spiral notebook and a pencil near my bed because the best ideas for songs, I've heard entire songs in my head in my dreams. I
That's
would get up and
awesome.
just start writing down excerpts that I could remember, phrases I could remember, timing I could remember, chords I could remember, and singing. I used to sing them onto a tape. Remember the little square tape decks, with the little red
The
button
tape
and
recorder things.
the
Yeah.
little tape recorders, and I had the little cassettes in there, little Maxell set,
Yes.
and I would just start singing what I remembered. That's how it always started for me. That's where I would
Mm-hmm.
take my best ideas. Sometimes if I'm feeling like it's hard to explain, like, so I could be sitting here with this pad of paper, right? And just start. I wish I had my other one with me. I don't, because you will see that the other day, this awesome song popped into my head and I just started jotting down lyrics. So that's typically how it works for me. I'll be cooking, I'll be doing anything, cleaning, laundry, and I'm like, oh,
Right.
that's a great lyric. And I'll just write it down and start
Yeah.
piecing things together that make sense. I think,
Mm-hmm.
songs are basically poetry, and I've been, in my view, and I've been writing poetry for a long time, really long time. So some of my songs came out of poems that I had written. I had all my poems in my
Cool.
dorm room in New Mexico, like on the walls with like burnt
Yeah.
edges, and they were kind of in little cool, what do you call that? What is that? Where you put the, oh, help me, Kristen, with the art stuff. Scrapbook. Thank you. In the scrapbook paper, and I would like burn the edges and put
Yeah.
the poems up on the wall, and I would pull from that. But I think it's can be organic, but it can also be very intentional. You're pissed off at something. I'm going to write that, but make
Yeah,
it sound good and not about anyone in particular. So yeah, I mean, I think
absolutely.
it's different for everybody. It's organically for me, things popping into my head is how I usually start it. Just a
Yeah.
random thought.
Which I love because that's a creative process. That's how I
Yep.
come up with my
Yeah.
podcast ideas or a
Yeah.
recipe idea. I'll wake up at 5 in the morning. I'm like,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? And
Yes.
and those are the real ideas because
Those
they're,
are the
when you're
gems. Yep.
sleeping, your imagination's going.
That's correct.
And you get this, or I'll see something, like I came up with a whole podcast thing once. I was drinking a little shot of turmeric and I saw a little headline for some. I'm like, that's a really cool idea, and wrote a whole podcast.
Exactly. Yep.
That's what I love about being creative and writing is that your inspiration can come from, and it can come from anywhere. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
it
Oh,
really could.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
when you get up in the morning and you're like, oh God, give me a pen, give me a, because I'm
Yeah.
hearing
It'll
the
just
song.
come to you.
It's weird
Right.
that you even, I mean, that I even remember it, but I do. I remember my dreams. I'm one of those people.
Yeah, and that's good that you had the thing next to you because I have crazy dreams sometimes and they were so real and so wild. And I wake up and 5 minutes later, I don't remember what it was. But
I've also been keeping a journal since I was about 14. So
yeah,
it's and I've got them all. And it's
journaling's
really
awesome.
interesting to look back and go, oh my God, is that what I thought was important on that day? But
Yeah.
the reality is it was important. It was important to you at
It
that
was
moment.
at that
That was like
time, right?
life and death at that point. What am I going to wear to roller
Yeah.
skating?
Oh my God, I know. Or the guy didn't pick me to go roller skating with
Yeah,
the couples dance.
I think I'll
Oh my
die.
God.
No.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but it's great to,
Creativity is really very organic, and I
yeah,
think, yeah, any kind of creative thing that you're doing, letting your mind go, just
mhm,
letting it wander
yep,
sometimes and getting away from other people. I know I live alone, whatever, but being around too many people and there's too much chatter, being on
yes,
social media, it's like all
yes,
this noise.
yes.
I think you need to just get away, and if
It
you're
is
especially if
very
you're gonna
noisy.
write, it
It is very
is,
noisy, and
like even
it's just
last
as
night, I'm like, I
difficult.
have got to get off the internet.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Like
hard
crazy.
sometimes because you don't it's just such a thing now, and all I kept thinking is,
Right.
God, I was so much happier when there were no phones, cell phones, and there was no social media. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally have said this, there is nothing social in my brain. I mean, I know we're doing this now, like, I get that, but we've known each other. You and I grew up in that time that is also never gonna be replaced ever and never
Right.
gonna be repeated, but in my view, I just don't find personally the connection is as profound and it is as great. I don't think there's anything social about social media. This is my personal view, and I don't mean to discount that it has had no benefits. I think that it
Mhm.
has. I think certainly we're doing this now. And not in that regard, in the regard of really sitting down with people face to face and having a one-to-one conversation. Like we're doing this,
Yeah.
it's you and me, I know you, we're talking, right?
Right.
But this expectation, how many likes did somebody get? People getting bullied on social media, just all these thoughts and processes. And I don't like you now. And I'm going to unfriend you because you think differently than
I
me.
know.
And I thought, God, whatever happened to healthy debate? Like, whatever happened to,
Right.
hey, tell me why, you're feeling this or thinking this. Let's go for coffee. Let's have a conversation. That's the part that
Yeah.
I long for, that I believe a lot of people are longing for.
I
Yep.
agree.
Yeah. I
I
should
and
write
I
a
think
song
that's
about that.
why you should. Absolutely. I think that's why a lot of people they don't want to watch polished, professional videos. And they want
Yeah,
real
yeah,
because we've been in this social media space since what, 2007 is when Facebook came out. And I remember my friend from Australia invited me to Facebook. I'm like, what the heck is Facebook? But
yeah.
like
Oh, I
20 years
remember.
later, we can't get enough of it. And our
Yeah,
lives have changed so much. But like,
yeah,
remember when we were in college, we would go to Perkins
yeah,
diner place, remember
yeah.
the cafeteria pla stay there, drink coffee,
Have
order
the best
fries,
time.
breakfast, whatever. We would just sit and talk and
Yep,
laugh and draw
yep.
and just
Yeah, I just miss
have
the
so much
innocent
fun.
fun. Just the innocent, don't have to be doing a lot fun. I mean, I had
And
friends.
not having to impress the whole world,
No, no,
right?
didn't even
We were
matter.
in our
Hair
own
in the
little bubble.
ponytail. Yeah. And it was like, whatever, like boxer shorts and some sneakers and just kind of hanging out till 2, 3 in the morning, maybe a lot of
Oh my
times
God.
later. But, I just missed the innocence of all of it. Like we were able to
Yeah.
get to places without it, a map, like whatever happened to people reading a map, like whatever happened to
Yeah.
just being like, I live, go down this street, take a right, look for the blue house, take another right, and I'm on third one on the left. Like people can't comprehend. Oh, they're like, hold on, wait, what?
Or using the
And
phone book. I mean,
yeah,
I know
I
it's
knew it
so
was over
crazy.
when the phone came out with that big cord. Interesting fun fact here. I have all of my cell phones for historic purposes only, just so I could go back and laugh at them, when I'm 90,
Yeah. I think I
hopefully
have some of
100.
mine too.
It's
Yeah.
very interesting. And
Right.
I knew it was going to all be over at that point. I think pagers were as far as I wanted to go, you know,
Yes.
and
Those were the early 90s.
I would give it up, but I think, in a lot of respects, all of our lives are on it. You need it for my work. If I didn't need this for my work, I'd probably throw it in the ocean, the closest ocean over here, and
Right.
part of the ocean anyway. But our lives just become dependent on it. And everything we do is now on the phone, your banking, your, communication, I got to say, I'm not a fan of texting. I know there's people out there in your audience that feel that, that, just
Mhm.
give me a call, give me a call.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk to you.
absolutely.
But yeah,
Right. Or
I'm
let's meet and have a
glad I grew up when
coffee
I
and
did.
talk in person, like I
Yeah,
know,
I'm glad we
but
grew up when we did. I think
I am too.
I'm blessed in that sense,
It was like some of the best times
I'm
ever. I
telling you,
know. And
the
I
music,
wish we could go back. I know. Yeah,
I
yeah.
would.
Actually, Claudette and I, we did a demo together. I remember,
Yeah.
didn't you and I sing something together?
We
You're going to
sang,
find that, and I'm going to find a
yeah.
link to it.
God, I wouldn't be able to get it here anyway because it's in New York and I'm in Florida. It's in my car.
Yeah.
We talked about this. I've got a tape of we were doing Whenever I Call You Friend, and we were at I think it was Mannequins, and they gave us a little tape. Remember, they recorded you, and
Yes.
we did
Was it
that.
karaoke?
It was a karaoke thing, but it was called like Star Karaoke, remember? And they give you like the tape. And then I
They
don't
give
know if
you the
you and I
tape.
ever did the Darien Lake thing, but they gave us the tape. I've got it. And then
Okay.
I don't know if you remember this, but in the student union up upstate, they had kind of a karaoke set up there. And you and I
Okay.
did a song there. I remember I sang 8 days a week from the Beatles. I still have that on tape.
Okay.
And then I also vividly remember you with your art pad on the floor, kind of like sprawled out there, and you had your Anita Baker on and a Whitney Houston. And I just
Yep.
remember that, like the breeze blowing in the window because we faced the quad, if you remember that.
Yep.
And you just
Yeah.
kind of singing, and then all of a sudden I'd be singing something, then you'd harmonize, and then you'd be singing something, then I'd harmonize, and I'm all,
Yeah.
see, this is why we're roommates. We connected
Exactly.
on music, and we still are, I think, in a lot of
Absolutely. I
regards.
mean, yeah, because I was always into singing too. I mean, I haven't sang professionally, but
Yeah, but you
I
have a
love to
beautiful
sing. I
voice that
love music.
yeah,
Yeah. I
you gotta
mean,
let your
and
audience hear that at some
harmonizing.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, no,
throw
I
some
love to
Eagles in
sing.
there. Now, we should have you and me should have a segment where that's what we do. We let the audience pick a song, and then you and I are just gonna do
Yeah,
kamikaze karaoke.
exactly. That would be a whole new podcast,
It would
man.
be
That
a
would
whole
be
new
super
podcast.
fun.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. I mean, we could do an Eagles song because I just did the whole Eagles tribute, which is my favorite band. And
Yeah,
yeah,
gotta
I'm
love
so
them.
upset they're going to Vegas, but tickets
Yes,
are
they
like
are. Yep. They are so good in
$800.
concert.
Crazy.
They're outstanding in concert.
They're amazing.
You can't go wrong with the Eagles. Big Desperado fan. Love that song.
Yeah,
I
I love
think, like, what's your
Desperado.
favorite do you have a favorite Eagles song? I know it. It's
I
hard to
love
pick.
One of These Nights. I
Oh,
love One
yeah.
of These Nights.
Yeah.
Best of My Love is the one that I highlighted because that was
Yeah.
the one that was out this month,
Yeah,
like
that's a
March
great
1st. It
tune.
was number
That's a
one.
great tune.
And
Yeah.
I loved that period and because I actually watched a whole documentary and I bought a whole book on them to kind of get my history straight before I started talking about it. And this was really their middle period before they got Rocky and Hotel
Yes.
California. Like
Yeah.
they actually recorded this album in London with Glyn Johns, who apparently they hated because he was a total control freak and he
Yeah.
wanted them to stay country rock. But Glenn Fry wanted to be a rock band, you
Yes,
know?
he
And
did.
so they fired the producer, went back to LA, got a new producer, and finished the album. And then after that, they were writing one of these nights when this came out, number one. And then that whole album I loved too.
Yeah.
And then they did Hotel California. And then In the Long Run was at the end. So, but there's so many good periods, you know? And what I love about the Eagles is they wrote about the whole experience of being in LA in the 70s. And, you know, Hotel California is not really about the hotel. It's about the whole show business life in California and getting caught up in it and all the crazy
Can you
stuff that
still
was
see
going
me, by
on.
the
I mean,
way?
it's so cool to like hear Henley and Fry talk about it all. But
Can you
that's
hear
what I
me,
love
Kristen?
about, you know, doing these band things, you know, like talking about it is just really understanding what is behind the music and behind the lyrics, you know, because like you
Yeah.
said, you could write a song one day and you're totally mad about something. And, you know, so
Hmm.
what's the story behind that? But there could be another
Right.
day where it's more of an easy breezy or a love song, you know, and
Right.
The Best of My
Can you?
Love that was just out, that I just talked about wasn't a love song. It was a total breakup song. Like he and the woman that he was dating were completely letting go because they just couldn't make it work. So, you know, they play it at weddings like it's this big love song, but it really
Hmm.
wasn't a good love song. It was a
Right.
breakup song, you know. Let's talk about your other two businesses that are similar but different, right? You've
Yeah.
got your
Yep.
C Beauty.
Yep.
I know you're in the jewelry line and then you have your Reiki business. Tell me
Yeah.
a little bit about
Sure.
those businesses and how they came
Sure.
about and what you're doing.
You
All that.
gotcha. So for the Reiki situation, and this could really be a whole nother podcast, probably. So I've always been interested in, and I think maybe this is just part of the creativity process situation. I just believe
Yeah.
that there are people who are more in tuned, if you will, than others to things kind of going on around Earth spiritually.
Mhm.
And I've always felt that was me. Never really talked a lot about it, put maybe a lot of it into my music or into my writing or whatnot, or basically anything I did, entering a room, feeling something out. I always had an incredible, almost like a sixth sense, I suppose, if you will, without sounding corny. So I kind of sat one day after giving some readings to friends of mine, and they're like, Claudette, like you have some kind of crazy gift that you need to use. And for me, it's just me personally. One of the biggest things I feel, is to have a gift and not use it, whatever that gift is. So
Mhm.
musically, I stay involved in music because I believe that that is a gift from God. So I
Yes,
say I'm going to keep that going and use that.
I agree.
And how Reiki came about was I said, I don't know if I'm going to do readings right away and just do readings. So I went to see somebody for Reiki for myself. And I said, God, this would be a great way for me to kind of use my gifts, that kind of healing energy, because that's what Reiki really
Mhm.
is. The basis of Reiki is that everybody has universal life force
Mhm.
within them, and some people are just more intuitive in terms of bringing that out. And I use the word healing lightly. Guidance is kind of how I like to do it, because I do hands off Reiki. I do very light hands on, only if the person's comfortable, and by that I mean a light touch. I get a lot of my intuition from that. It is if I just need a touch and I can sort of feel things. Can't explain it. It is what it is. I'm blessed with it.
Mhm.
I'm happy that God gave me that gift. So in 2020, I had the Reiki session and I thought this would be perfect. So I did some research, and actually how things come full circle, the woman who I trained under is Australian. And so I did
Okay.
all the trainings. I did, Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki 3, went for the master, and then COVID came around. So here I
Right.
am, unable to see anybody, unable to be around anybody.
Yeah.
Now, you can do distance Reiki, where if they call it a distance attunement, and I did a couple of those and that was fine, but I was still working. And that was the fortunate part about doing the work that I was in, because I was remote and everybody in my company at that point was
Okay.
remote. So we were pretty much unaffected by that,
That's
which
good.
was great and still would be today if God help us all, if anything like that ever
Yeah.
happens again.
Yeah.
So I started doing sessions and just kind of getting involved in the Reiki community, in Buffalo. I went to a lot of events, kind of meeting different people. found out a lot about farmers markets, and then there were different events going around Buffalo. So I was asked to do one, and then one led to another one led to another. And actually, hopefully in Hamburg, when I get home, I'll be doing their farmer markets if everything goes well. I did a lot of just like special events. People will call me and say, could you, come do this? I still do readings. I do what's called envelope readings.
Okay.
So let me just tell you that super fast. I do the whole thing where I kind of take your hand or just, maybe lightly here in your arm. And then I take a piece of paper and a pen simply in my head and just start writing down, could be names, dates, times, places, colors. I could describe, maybe a house that you lived in. What's going on with your love of ducks? You know what I mean? I could see just different things just run past my head. So I ended up doing a reading for my friend's friend. She just was overhearing the conversation and she goes, "Can you do that on me now?" So you just grab like a little bar napkin and I'm writing the stuff down. She goes, "Oh my God." She goes over and tells her friend, next thing you know, Kristen, I got a line of people in the bar that need
Oh my
readings.
God.
Okay. And
Wow.
so, and I wasn't even drinking. I didn't even have a drink that night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're like, "How did you know that?" I'm like, "Listen, I don't know. This information might come to you today. It
That's
might make sense to you
cool.
tomorrow. It might make sense to you in a week. However, it's going to make sense to you at some point." So I'm really, really glad that I did what I did because again, it made me feel like I'm able to use my gift. I was able to
Yes.
get a job and still am in the field that I went to school for and paid for. Still able to sing and be involved in music. To me, that's a gift. And what I
Yeah.
supposed to do for a living is in some regards is a gift. And Reiki is a gift. The jewelry, the beauty, the sea beauty, that actually was born of Sea Scents, which was the perfumes line that I was doing. That
Okay. I
perfume
remember you
line,
sent me one that
that's
was
right.
called Gypsy, right?
I think I sent you Gypsy because I knew you.
Gypsy.
I said, "Oh my God, it's one of my favorite
I
Stevie
love
Nicks songs," right?
patchouli and sandalwood and
Yes,
all
and that's
those
all that it was.
type.
And this is
Yeah.
interesting too, is it was born out of my love of music. I like to sort of connect things in my life. Like I love
Hmm.
perfume. I have over 200 bottles of perfume. I'm an avid perfume collector,
Yeah.
new scents, old scents, niche, whatever it is. So I love perfume. So I said, okay, make your own. Again, here goes the creative person in me. Idle time for me is the worst thing in the world. So I
Yeah.
always feel, and so I don't know if it's good or bad, but I always feel like I have to be doing something.
I'm the
So,
same way.
or I'm just like, God, what am I
I
doing? Like
think,
I
you
have to
know
be
what?
doing
I
something.
think creative I
Yeah,
think creative people have a little bit of that restlessness, right? We're
I
always looking
agree.
for a way
Yes,
to express and a way to be
yes,
inspired and a way to bring that all together. Like you're just always searching for the new
yep,
expression, right?
yes,
Because otherwise you're
agreed.
just keeping it all in.
Yeah. And this
And
is like,
you talk about energy, like
yeah,
for example, when I was doing graphic design when I lived in Atlanta, I started freelancing, and there was this guy that he got me into the company that he was with, and it was like this background check company called I can't even remember
hmm,
Checkpoint or something. Anyway,
yeah,
it was a really stiff like background check kind of company, and
yep,
I'm like you, like creative. I love to sing. I love to talk. I'm like not corporate America at all.
yes,
And I remember he wanted me to do some of the freelance with him in the office. And I would go in there and everybody's in suits in their little cubicles and they're all quiet, like
yeah,
staring at their. And I'm like, this energy was
yep.
so not right for me.
I agree with you.
So
I
I
agree with
hear
you.
you, like you feel energy from people, from things. Like
Yep.
I get it. I don't have psychic visions and things like that, but like I understand what you're saying about energy. When
Yeah,
you
but
meet
your
someone,
energy, your creativity, all that comes out in the cooking
it
that you
does.
do and in your art. I mean, you make everything colorful and it's just like it's there because that's the feeling that you're having and you're just translating it
Right.
a different way. That's all that it is.
Exactly. Exactly. Whether
Yeah.
it's through food or music or your
Hmm.
voice or your drawing or
Yeah.
whatever. Creativity is creativity.
Yeah. And you're
It is.
you're a
It's all
musician,
energy.
you're a singer too. And I don't know if you feel this way, but just touch on that real quick. Like I can't sing a song I don't feel.
Right.
Doesn't matter how
I
much
hear
bad
you.
somebody wants to hear it. I've
Yeah.
tried, but I can't sing a song I cannot feel because I need to
Yeah.
translate that to the audience, right? So that's a feeling. The 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 perfumes, I tied in my love of music right to it. So
Hmm.
every perfume in the line was named after a favorite a band or a favorite song or a lyric,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we had
Cool.
Gypsy, I had Strawberry Fields, and on and on and on we go. So I thought, how can I capture the feeling that I have when I hear these songs into the fragrance, and what would it smell like? I know exactly where I was, like when I heard a song for the first time, how I felt. And song is so powerful, and scent is so powerful, right?
Yeah.
And so
Totally.
how do I marry that? So, Strawberry Fields, I guess, was probably easy, but I added in like, vanilla and kiwi, the
I think I still
smallest.
have some samples that you gave me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, they're good. And so the music was
Hmm.
tied into
They're
my
great.
perfume. And then I said, okay, well, what's the next natural spin-off of that? So when I was doing jewelry, it was under the C Sense C Beauty umbrella. That right now is called Stack Attack, because
Okay.
yeah, I made all of these with the exception of my energy bracelet here. Okay. But
Yeah.
all of these
Cool.
I make. And so how do you create your own stack? You can, so I said, okay, here are some ideas. And you pick the beads that speak to you and just create your own stack. So that's called Stack Attack, which is a division of Sea Beauty, which is also a division of Sea Sense.
Right.
As far as the makeup, I have two products right now, which is the vegan collagen cream. It's just outstanding. The price, I mean, good luck finding a vegan collagen cream with the ingredients that I have in there for $15. You're not going to find it.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can go to cbeauty.com if you want to see that. And the lip gloss is just
I love
it's
the lip
just
gloss. You
amazing.
sent me that one.
How great
That
is
one's
that?
a lovely.
It
I
took
love it
forever to
because you
come
can
back in
layer
stock.
it. Yeah, you can layer it because it's a sheer kind of gold,
Yeah, it's like champagne
like
color.
lip gloss. Yeah. So it just gives a little pretty shimmer, or you can wear it by yourself if you
Yeah,
want
and
to.
it's a
Like, say
little
you're
bit
going
of
to
a
the beach.
plumping, but not
Yeah.
burning. There's no cinnamon
Yeah.
in it. It's not a plumping effect. It's a plumping effect, excuse me, without the burn. After it sold out, it took me forever. I just posted, in fact, the other day that they called me and said it was back in stock. The issue is that they couldn't get the Wakame sustainably sourced, and you have to wait for that. It comes from France, if you can believe that. Okay, so it's like
Cool.
that. It's like a specific type of algae that is just conditions your skin, and it's like a natural antioxidant. So it's got all good for you skin ingredients in it. So I absolutely love
Cool.
it. It's coming out in a rosé color. So to answer your original
Nice.
question, I kind of married all of that in together. Stayed creative, tied it into the music, tied it into the creativity. I want to pull the things together that I love to do. Love makeup. You love
Right.
makeup. Love
Right.
perfumes. I think you love perfumes.
Yep.
Anything that I could just pull into one nice little thing, and I'm just constantly doing stuff I love, nothing can go wrong there.
Yeah, well, I was
Nothing
just
can
going
go
to
wrong there.
say, I mean, you can't not be successful if you do what you love, right? They
That's
always
right.
say, do what you love
That's right.
first and the money will come.
Yes.
Honestly, I mean, sometimes you got to do jobs and take jobs
Yeah.
that you don't want to do because you got
Yeah.
to make money. We get it.
Yeah.
But when you really find your passion, which same thing, music and food and
Yeah.
anything creative,
Right. I
I'm
don't know where
still,
I'd be, Kristen. Where would we be with no music?
I don't either.
I don't know that I'd be sitting here. And I don't mean that in a weird way. I just mean it like
Yeah,
my life would be very different, I think. And for me, music makes
absolutely.
everything happen and gel. So I wouldn't be doing anything without music. So there'll never be a time where it's not in my life. But
Yeah,
like you say, my corporate job remotely is great for someone like me because I feel the same way you do about that. I'm a free spirit. You know what I mean?
yeah,
My band's name is Gypsy Souls, for God's sake. So,
exactly.
I don't, it's not exactly a corporate name, but
No.
I've been in that field for a long time, and that's what I went to school for. So you end up doing that. Everything gets the bills paid in 30 years,
Yeah,
but there was never a time where that creativity was ever going to take a back seat, ever.
absolutely.
Yeah, you do
Absolutely.
the
I mean,
same
that
way.
was
You
me
do the same
too.
thing.
When I transitioned into food, I was still working in advertising full time and
Yeah,
I was doing it on the side. I started my blog, and then was starting to get followers and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't
yeah.
until, maybe 2 years, 3 years into it that I finally left my job. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this full
This is
time,
what you want.
freelance. But, same thing. Then I went back and took a job. And then I came here to San Antonio and did a full time job for 4 years. But then
Yeah,
something pulled me back
that's
again.
right.
It's like your soul knows what it needs to
That's
be doing. And if
correct.
you're a creative, you're a
follow your
creative,
gut,
you've
follow your
gotta do
soul.
it. You gotta do it.
100%. I mean, and you
So
really took that to a level that, I'm sure you probably didn't think you would, or maybe you did think you would. But my point is, like, you just grew it into off the charts.
right.
You know what I mean? And just let your creativity run wild. And I think that's so great. I think that's incredible
Yeah.
what you did. You know?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Being a freelance or a creative, like, not full time, I mean, it can be hard sometimes. There's
of
going to be
course.
months where you're like, "Oh, I don't have a lot of jobs," but then you'll get 5 jobs in a row and then it'll be
Absolutely.
quiet again. So
Yeah,
I think
balances
the most
out.
important thing for people that are trying to get into a creative business or
Yeah,
own their own business is, not giving up.
right.
There's going to be slow times and
Like,
save your
understand
money.
that. Understand that. Yeah, it's like gigs, you're not gonna get them every minute. It's great when you do, but, like, you get a Commodores thing and you're like, "Okay, sounds great."
That's
And then the next
amazing.
day you're playing down the street at the local watering hole. So I
Yeah,
think, yeah, I think, you gotta take it in stride but keep your eye on the prize, I think, because
absolutely.
if you stay on the path and you don't allow anything else to veer you off of it, which is not always easy. We all get
Right.
distracted and think, oh, let's do that over here and do a little bit of this over here. But I think people will come back to center when they're creative
Yeah.
because, like you say, something kept pulling you back. Wasn't just something,
Hmm.
you were pulling you back because you knew that that's
Yeah.
where you were your best. Did you ever have those days where you're like, my hair doesn't look right? I don't feel good. I feel bad.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like,
All
what's
the
going
time.
on? Something weird's going on. I just don't feel like myself. But then the second you're around that thing that sparks fuels your fire, all of a
Yes.
sudden everything looks better, tastes better, feels better. Everything's just awesome. That's when you're aligned. I think,
Yes.
being a
Yeah.
creative person, and I know you can identify with that because you are too,
Absolutely.
you know?
It's like you're in your element, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yes, untouchable.
Yeah,
When I'm on stage, I feel
totally.
like nothing can touch me, harm me. I'd be like, "Yeah, that's great." So, yeah, just bounces off of me, like just boom, 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 and I just
Yeah.
get lost in the music. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. I love it. Love being a
That
creative
is
person.
cool. I know, me too. So before we get into a song, is there any one last advice or thing you want to talk about to the audience today?
I think, well, thank you, first of all, for hearing us out and hearing me out. I
Yeah.
think that if you're listening and any of this kind of resonated with you, I think that once a creative mind, always a creative mind, once a creative spirit, always a creative spirit. So just stay on track. Do what you have to do, even if it's just a job here or a job there. Don't worry about what other people put in your brain. Lock it out, tune it out to listen to yourself and only listen to your own heart and only what's here. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters. Don't be swayed by you must or are you should. And what are you going to do if? Well, I don't know. I'll figure that out when I get there. I don't know. What are you going to do if? Right? So
Yeah.
don't listen to any of the negative talk and the naysayers. Focus on what's in your heart and mind. You've got a life, live it. And I always said I didn't want to be like 100 years old, knock on wood. And go,
Yeah.
God, I should have started that other band.
Exactly.
I should have
No
done that.
regrets.
I don't wanna be
No
a woulda, shoulda,
regrets.
could. I've made a ton of mistakes in my life, and
Yep.
I really don't mind or regret that I did. I wouldn't do anything else over because I wouldn't be sitting here right now with you today and
Well,
all your lovely audience.
exactly.
Yep.
And like we were saying, my cat's over there trying to get out.
Hello. Is there another one right there? Wait, how many do you have?
Yeah, I've got one
Okay.
behind me and my other guy, Skylar. So this is Ollie. Can you say hi, Ollie?
Ollie.
Hi, Bug. Can you say hi?
Hi.
He's like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna hang out in the background. I didn't even
Hey,
realize you
it's a
could see
pretty
him.
cat. Is that like a Persian
Well,
or
and
like a not a Persian,
he's a Persian.
Persian.
He's a Persian long hair exotic, I guess is what they
Yeah,
call him. But
pretty.
actually, he had a haircut. I had to give him lion cuts, both of them, because they were
Uh-huh.
getting matted.
Yeah.
So he's got really long hair normally, but I had to get him shaved down to start from scratch
Yeah,
because I
that's how
couldn't
they
get the
are.
knots out.
Yep. Fredo's a Maltese, so
Anyway,
he's got all these like poofy,
yeah,
long things, and
yeah,
I love that lion face with the long tail. So cute.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's
know
with
he's so
Robert
cute.
right now. So
Aw.
yeah, that's all
Okay.
good.
So tell everybody where they can find you, your C
Sure.
designs, your band, all
Yep.
that website stuff.
Sure. Okay, so for the C Beauty, it's very simple. On Facebook, it's C Beauty. If you want to, you can also connect to me directly. So Claudette and then Scirri, Scirri on Facebook. I'd love to be your friend. And on Instagram, it's Claudette333. For the band, we are on ReverbNation.com. And once you're on it, you just simply put in Gypsy Soul. It may come up Gypsy Souls Las Vegas only because we were there and
Yeah.
had that band there as well. And that part just never changed. But because we have 2 new members, the Facebook page right now is being reconstructed because I got to take down stuff that contain the other people and put the other stuff in. You just have to do that.
Okay.
And then look out for our new project coming up. That is a playoff of the Grapes of Wrath in terms of the band name. I'll just give you that. Leave you with that. You're going to love it.
Yeah, and I'm
yeah,
gonna
go ahead.
post all the links below for everybody
Yeah.
to her Facebook and your
Yeah. And the
jewelry
Reiki
page.
too.
And the Reiki.
Once you're on C Beauty, it'll be Relax, RELAX, Relax with a capital C. So if you type in Relax C, this all connects to C Beauty. So I can, if you need anything else, so let me know and I can send you any other links you might need.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I'll post everything below. All right, guys. So Claudette and I are going to just do a fun little quickie song, partial song. We're going to do Dreams by Fleetwood Mac just for fun to end the show because we both love music and we want to play with you guys.
Yeah.
So ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now here you go again, you say you want your freedom. Well, who am I to keep it down? Take it away, Kristen.
It's only right that you should play the way you feel it. But listen carefully to the sound of your loneliness like a heartbeat.
It drives you mad.
Drives you mad.
In the stillness of remembering what you had
and what you lost.
What you
And
had
what you had and what you lost.
There's a delay.
There is a delay.
Oh, thunder.
We're going to end it there. It's okay. You know what? Next
Look
time
for
I
more
come up to
karaoke
Buffalo,
shenanigans from
Claudette.
Kristen and Claudette. Couple weeks.
Yeah. Next time I come to Buffalo, I'm going to come see you. I'll stay with you and I'll come sing with you in your band in
that
real
would be
life.
so fun.
How's
Okay.
that?
You are
that
welcome.
That would be way better.
We
got,
we got
just way
passes
too
for you.
difficult.
Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
It's easier than singing in the delay.
We're trying to do the delay and everything's in slow motion. So I hope it's all coming out.
We got a little bit of it. We can get a little bit of it in there.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, and maybe we'll try another time. We'll try something else, but there's got to be a way to do it.
There's got to be editing.
Yeah. But anyway, it was so fun talking to you.
It was a great time.
And I know, and I just love everything that you're doing. I can't wait to see what's going on with your new band, especially.
Thank you. It's gonna be awesome.
Keep us posted with all your new beauty stuff and your Reiki things. And I need to get that done by you too.
Please.
Next time I see you.
Anytime.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to try to come to New York this summer, so we'll see.
That would be great. That would be great.
But
you and I for a couple days.
I know.
Look out, Buffalo
well,
/ Rochester.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so nice upstate, not in the winter. Do you remember like slipping and sliding in front of Mighty Taco at 3 a.m. when we were in college?
Time with your purse
on the
like
ice.
this.
Yeah, we had so much fun.
Yeah.
Good times, good memories.
Yeah,
the 80s
for sure.
The days.
Yeah, loved it. Love it.
All right, girl. Well, thank you so much. And
thank you.
Yeah, have an awesome time in Florida the rest of your trip. And
I shall enjoy to the fullest. All right. See you soon.
Tell Robert I said hi. All right.
I will.
Bye.
Kristen says hi, Robert. He's right there. He says hi.
Hey.
All right, cool. Let me know if you need anything else.
I will. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
You're welcome,
Thanks again.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me on Unfiltered today, part of the Artful Gourmet podcast. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd share it with a friend, leave a rating or review, and make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. Your support helps these conversations reach more listeners who are passionate about creativity, culture, and meaningful work. I'm Kristen Hess, and I'll see you next time for another great conversation right here on Unfiltered on the Artful Gourmet podcast. And remember, stay curious, stay creative, and keep living life a little unfiltered.